Why do we abandon so much of our music? I've been thinking about this a lot lately as I've been working on new productions in the last few months and I haven't been finishing all of them. If you're a solo artist in any way, I'm sure you can relate to this. I've come up with one good reason, but let me know if you have any more. I feel like finishing our music and putting it out there in the world feels like letting go. We hold on to it too preciously, endlessly tinkering away because we're fearful of the day that we can't tweak one more parameter to make it a little bit better. So, how do you fix this? How do we overcome the incessant tweaking, the feeling of dread over making progress, the piles and piles of unfinished lyrics and project files? These seem like bad habits that we need to escape. So I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is a very popular self-help title that came out in 2018. Here I want to talk about how the concepts in this book apply to us music makers and simple things that we can do to build better habits around not just starting music, but finishing it as well. If we build better habits, we won't just feel more motivated, it will actually become easier for us to start and finish our music projects. This will make us more efficient with our music because we won't just keep starting projects, going in circles, and losing motivation and then forgetting about it. That's a bad habit that we need to break. Before we can talk about how to finish the piece of music you have, let's talk about what happens if you don't. This will help you to realize what is truly holding you back. So, think about the piece of music that you've been working on lately and you want to finish and put out into the world. Now, imagine we're 6 months ahead into the future and you failed to do that. What caused it to fail? Is it life? Was it another piece of music that came up and it's much better? How many more times can you comfortably let this happen? With all the projects we have in our lives, it's important to think of all these things because it helps us to put them in perspective alongside the other things in our lives. When we do this with our music, we stop thinking of it as just a vague thing that we want to do, and instead like a real thing in our day-to-day lives that we have to fit into our schedules. Like, I want to go to Japan. I've always wanted to visit there, but what can I actually start doing today to begin that process? I need to look for flights, accommodations, activities, and maybe I can't do that all today, but if I want to make it happen, I need to put time on my calendar and set it aside to do that. The same thing needs to happen with your music. We need to actualize it, pull it out of the vagueness in our brains and put it onto the calendar, put it alongside those real things in our lives. So in this book, Atomic Habits, there's 4 laws to behavior change. Here's how we'll apply it to our music. 1. Make it obvious. Put that music in front of your face. Put files on your computer desktop, leave a note on the desk of the projects you're working on, pin your lyrics to the top of your phone's notes app. Just like the cookies on your kitchen table, you will be more likely to finish a piece of music if it is something that you're consistently seeing or thinking about. Whenever I'm working on a project, I always put the files in a very obvious place, something I'm always going to see when I hop on my computer. These kind of things help us to remind us about the projects and give us a little nudge to go check it out. Make it attractive. Our habits, the things we do in our lives, they're more attractive when we associate them with positive feelings, and we can use this to our advantage. So if we reframe the things that we're thinking about and we focus on the benefits, it's an easy way for us to reprogram our mentality around our music. Instead of us saying, I need to go finish this track, you can say, it's time to build my discography and get good at releasing music. A stricter form of doing this could be, say, a rule that you make with yourself that says you can't move on to another project until it's done. That'll really make you want to finish that track. Or another rule that you make for yourself that says, I'm not allowed to show it to anybody unless I finish it. 3. Make it easy. Nobody should ever expect themselves to go from, say, never releasing a song to dropping an album a month. That's unrealistic for most people. When you want to create a new habit, you need the law of least effort. One method of doing this in the book is using the 2-minute rule. Basically, this says that any habit that we have can be scaled down to a very easy 2-minute version. Instead of running a mile, instead of reading a chapter of a book, we read 1 page. Any habit that we have can be scaled down. So why would we do this? We are practicing showing up for that task that we're doing. And if we start mastering these small things, the quickest, most essential parts of any behavior, this reinforces the chance that you're going to do it again. The thing I do to make finishing music feel easier is at the end of every session that I do here, I bounce a mix. Good or not, Done or not, this gets me in the finishing mentality. And the more you do this, the more comfortable you feel with your music being outside of the recording software or outside of the voice memos app. The point of it for me is to get rid of any association I have with the music and the recording software and just listen to it for what it is. So I bounce a mix, I put it on my phone, and I go to the gym and I'll put it on a replay while I'm doing my sets. This helps me think about the track and what it needs. And then after I think about what it needs, I can create a list and come back into the studio with a bunch of tasks for me to do. After you master this feeling, then you can go on to thinking, okay, before I bounce this tonight, I need to have these things fixed. This gets yourself farther into the mentality of being done with the piece of music instead of just going in circles in the computer. 4, make it satisfying. At the end of all of this, you need something to motivate you to do it again. This can come in many forms. You need to feel immediately successful by finishing the piece of music. So think to yourself, what part of the music process makes it so satisfying that you want to come back and do it again? Is it buying and learning a new piece of gear or an instrument? Is it buying some new piece of software? Is it playing a new song that you just learned? With your own music, here are some ways to make it satisfying. If you love buying gear, here's one way to combine that with finishing your music. You can give yourself an incentive that says, once you finish a song, then you can go buy that piece of gear that you've been wanting, but only if you finish the music first. Then, as we go on and we get better at finishing music, the intrinsic rewards will be more obvious and they will take over the needs of secondary rewards like buying a piece of gear as an incentive. Whatever you do, making it satisfying will result in change and will result in speeding up the process of finishing music because it'll make it more enjoyable. For me, after I finish a piece of music, I feel really satisfied when I put a track out there on streaming platforms. It feels really cool to be able to Shazam my own music and to see it alongside the popular artists in the playlist that I make for myself. You could also say to yourself that instead of releasing a single, you can decide that you can't release the music until you have 3 more songs for an EP. That's one way to try to force yourself to create some more songs and get them out there. Now, with all of that, none of this is to say that you won't have bad days. I still have bad days. I make bad music all the time as well. But if you have the habit of getting in and working on new music often, the batting average will get better over time. Also, you'll be less likely to abandon music because you'll be starting from a better place at the beginning of the project. This is because you'll be more in tune with knowing what works or not. You'll come up with good lyrics quicker, good melodies quicker, and ultimately you're going to save a lot of time because of all of that. The opposite of all that is, say, if you work on music really intensely for, say, 2 weeks, but then you stop for 3 months, you're likely going to be out of practice and it's going to be harder to get back into the groove. That's just me though, and you might have a different experience or opinion on that. Here's some ways to commit to finishing a piece of music. 1. Hire a cover artist to make an awesome piece of cover art. 2. Ask to collaborate with another musician. This will supercharge your motivation to finish the music because you will feel more obligated and feel more legitimate about the project. 3. Change the mindset from perfection to experimentation. Call your project an experimentation project so that there's no feeling of failure. You're just trying something new. Ask a non-musician's feedback. I guarantee that they're going to have some interesting and valuable thoughts because they will communicate their ideas without the use of musical terms, which you might already have some sort of connotations about. 5. Stay in the Goldilocks zone. Make the project difficult enough so that you feel like you're learning something and you're motivated, but easy enough that you won't give up on it. And finally, in the book, the author talks about the paperclip strategy. You start with 2 jars. One is filled with paperclips and one is empty. And as you do a task, say finish a song, you move one paperclip from one jar to another. As you complete the tasks, you visually see the progress that you're making. I do this for myself. In my music, I use folders. I have a master folder of all the projects that I'm working on, and as I complete them, I move them to finished folders. Then I populate a spreadsheet with the projects that I've done so that I can look back and reference my progress and see how much I've made over a big period of time. So out of all of this, which seems like it's the most helpful for you? Do you disagree with some of these? Let me know in the comments down below. And if this is your first time watching my channel, my name is Dan and I'm an electronic music producer for solo artists. Subscribe for more music motivation. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.